Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Christopher Richards, brought to you here today with Gina Tabasso for today's webinar, How to Transform Your B2B Marketing, right? We're going to learn a lot about Six Sigma and how that was used in manufacturing and how that translates into marketing nowadays. We've got some great processes and tips and techniques from Gina, who's a 30-year plus marketing professional for B2B and B2C businesses. So thanks for joining us, Gina. How are you today?
Good. I started marketing when I was in the crib. That's why I look so young.
She was born to do it, folks. That's what I love to hear. Yeah, and that's absolutely amazing. So before we kind of hop into, a little bit about the Six Sigma piece, wanted to really get an idea of, your business, Barracuda Marketing, and, how you got that started.
Yeah, actually on the screen, that's a picture of a school of Barracuda.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
um, I have been doing marketing for a long time, and people kept encouraging me to start my own consulting firm, and I kept resisting.
Yeah.
And then about a year and a half ago, a former boss of mine, I was working full time for him. Hey, welcome. I see somebody dropping in. And he really encouraged me to start my own business because he planned on selling the company in the future
Hmm.
and he wanted me to be self supporting. So it's really because of him that I legally formed my own entity and my website and got everything off the ground. As far as the Barracuda name, people ask me a lot how I came up with that name. It's a former client of mine. I was with a consulting firm, so I wasn't on my own. And he was my client. And at the end of an engagement, he said to me, with all due respect and love, you are a barracuda. He's like, I'm all over the place. I'm scattered. I'm can't get anything done. You are so on it and so efficient and so fast. And you would nudge me and remind me and kindly herd me in the right direction and keep me on track. And if it wasn't for you, this project never would have gotten done. And so when I was brainstorming a name for my company, I struggled for 2 weeks and I came up with the lists and lists of names. And I just
Hmm.
kept going back to Barracuda. And I'm like, I am a Barracuda. I'm
Yeah.
the person, I get shit done yesterday. And I'm just really great at project management. And so I own it.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you didn't really, you knew your identity all this time, and then it wasn't until somebody put a name to it you were like, wait a minute, this makes total sense. And
Exactly.
yeah, I absolutely love that evolution of how you got there. That's awesome. So how did you? So you started Barracuda Marketing back when?
I actually formed my LLC legally in September of 2023.
That's awesome. So, starting out right, no stranger to doing business and marketing, but really branching out on our own and really helping folks in a more impactful way, right? As opposed to, a more corporate based environment. So I love that.
Really wanted to do this when you asked me, Christopher, because I felt like if anybody attended, most of us are entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, and you're good at what you're good at. But when you become an entrepreneur, you've got to do all the stuff you're not good at.
Yeah.
And one of the things people aren't good at is marketing. They're like, they don't know enough about it. They don't know how to market their business. And I was like, if I could give some tips and tricks to people that could help them, because as solopreneurs and entrepreneurs, we also can't afford to hire people. We can't
Yeah.
afford to hire me
Wearing lots of
to
hats.
do your marketing for you. And so we've got to do it ourselves. And so as much information as we can get, it's going to help us.
Right. Oh, I absolutely love that. And you've sort of taken that sort of value philosophy and apply that for how you work with brands today. Is that right? You sort of focus for small to mid-sized businesses and really helping them get off the ground.
I do. I usually work with, I work with any B2B businesses. Like two of my clients right now are not manufacturers. One is an attorney and he developed an app, and I'm actually doing development and marketing for his app. And the other company is a software developer. They
Hmm.
do sell software to the manufacturing space, but they're not a manufacturer.
Yeah.
So I work mainly with small to mid-sized companies, five usually 5 to 50 million, usually about 100 people or less, because at that scale, they don't have an in-house CMO. They usually don't have a marketing department, and they need someone who's going to take care of them and not with a cookie cutter out of the box solution, but
Absolutely.
really understands their industry and cares about them as people and is authentic and honest and doesn't take their money and provide them a disservice.
Yeah, I absolutely love that philosophy, right? I mean, that's so important. You're speaking the entrepreneur's language, and you're being able to work with them in a capacity that, other firms may brush them off or may not provide them that same level of quality, intent, and purpose for that. So,
I
uh,
have to I have to interrupt and say, Mr. Fahim joined us, and I love your background. I love your video background. It's so cool.
yeah, I was wondering what that is. That spaceship.
Yeah, what is it?
So it's a form of an introduction of what we do. Take it
Okay.
as a form of
Okay.
introduction of what we do, right? So it's
Okay,
CGI,
sounds good.
right? As you can see
Gotcha.
that,
Yeah.
as you can see, it's a video that's real life, and then there's a 3D model on top of it.
So he's
So
not a
Very cool.
I was
cerebral.
actually interested.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah, yeah.
before
I was
before
actually
we hop into
interested
any
to learn more
before we
about
hop into
you.
any questions real quick, I'm gonna let Gina continue with the rest, and then we'll open it up for a little Q&A, and we can connect afterwards. Okay. So Gina,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
absolutely love the way that you're connected with entrepreneurs, helping them build their brands and doing it really in a purposeful way. Um, why don't you tell us a little bit more about Six Sigma, right? Let's kind of hop into the deep end around, what does this really mean? A little background. I come from a manufacturing background, so when you hear Six Sigma, basically layman's term for, it's a methodology that was introduced, I would say about mid 1950s, right? For a number of different automotive companies starting to learn different ways for how to manufacture and produce good quality cars at scale. And so Lean Six Sigma, I think it had some origins out of Toyota in Japan, if I'm not mistaken. And
I'm gonna go a little
ultimately,
bit into that
yeah, I was gonna say you probably know more history than I do, but just from what I know,
here because
uh,
I don't want to nerd people out and bore them on something that doesn't apply to them. So where I wanted to start, I wanted to talk about why do businesses need marketing to begin with? So I kind of wanted to go through why do we need marketing? What's a marketing strategy? What's Lean Six Sigma? And then how do I apply that to my marketing? So where I start, marketing, a lot of businesses and even small businesses, they tend to see marketing as a cost center rather than a revenue generator. And a lot of times that's because it's not done right. And even think about it, if you're a solo or entrepreneur, a lot of times people just throw money at the wall and hope it sticks. Like,
right.
I'll try this, and maybe I'll do some Facebook ads, and oh, that's not working. I'm going to do some Instagram ads, and oh, that's not working. Maybe I'll try starting a webinar series. And it's like all over the place. It's not this focused, leveraged, strategic approach.
Hmm.
And I know this is impossible for entrepreneurs, but I tell my clients that most successful companies in the greater world and industry spend about 5 to 10% of revenue on marketing.
Hmm.
But in manufacturing, because it's a B2B and it's a little bit different, it's not as commercialized, they should be spending about 3 to 5% of revenue. But I have manufacturers who aren't spending a 0.5% or 1% of revenue. And then
Wow.
they wonder why their marketing's failing. And, they just don't see the value of it. And I tell them, a lot of companies tend to be very self-focused. They focus on business development and sales. And so sell, 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 and what inevitably happens, your bottom of funnel taps out. You have no more leads, you have no more cash flow. And then everybody panics and is like, oh, we have to do lead generation.
Yeah.
Well, marketing can't work miracles. I mean, we are relational, not sales. So
Right.
it's about constantly filling that top of funnel, nurturing that funnel, and converting them and replenishing and refilling it. So, as an example, I'm a one person company, I am a solopreneur. I am doing marketing for my business. I'm doing I take a list of people I've found, mostly manufacturers.
Hmm.
I put them through a 6 week nurture sequence. And so once a week, I email them, not through my CRM. Don't do that ever, 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 unless someone has
Yeah.
opted in. You will get blacklisted, you will get
Oh
shut down,
yeah.
you will never get it opened up again. So I do it through another program or through like a Gmail account. And I email these folks with thought leadership articles for 6 weeks. And I give them the option to opt out, to unsubscribe. If after 6 weeks, I've been getting huge engagement rates, like 35% open rates,
Mm.
15 to 25% click-through rates. So when people are engaging with my content, then what I do is after 6 weeks, they've opted in by proxy of not opting out. I can then
Mm.
import them into my CRM, and then I continue to nurture them. I send them updates. I send them about a webinar I'm doing. I make an announcement about new service offerings I've added. And then I watch the analytics and I look at everybody who's opened and clicked. They are engaged. They are a warm lead. They're engaged and interested in your content. So then I start to call them. I put in warm calls to them. And I also connect with them on LinkedIn. So I'm doing this kind of like multi-pronged approach. And I did start a webinar series as a lead magnet as well. And then what I do is I don't ever do all of them at once. I have a list of
Yeah.
20,000 manufacturers. I don't email all 20,000. I started out with 300, put them through the 6 weeks. 274 of those were qualified, stuck them into my CRM, put them through another nurture sequence. Boom, drop another 500 into that 6 weeks. In that 6 weeks, I have time to call those 100 or so out of the 247 who've engaged, like 1/3 of my audience. So in the next 6 weeks, I have another qualified group. I drop into this nurture sequence and then I start calling them and I drop another 500 in. So
Yeah.
that's an example of perfect lead generation where you're constantly filling your funnel and nurturing them.
Yeah, that's very important to have both generation and the nurture part, right? I think you hit it on the head. Most businesses aren't doing the nurture part and doing it well enough to really keep and sustain, that activity over time, right? So I
Mhm.
absolutely love that.
Yeah, a lot of times they go from put those leads into your funnel and sell the hell out of them. And
Yeah,
you don't have a
it's
relationship
not
with them.
good.
They don't trust you. They don't know you. They're still top of funnel. They still need education. They're not at the buy stage. They're not ready to
Right.
pull the trigger and give you their money. So yeah, so that's kind of why you need marketing, how it can drive leads, um, and how it can help you. So with that said, then the next thing I tell people is this has to do with Lean Six Sigma too. So we're going to get into
Okay,
that
cool.
after this slide. A lot of people like to go to the end of a process, and marketing is a process. Lean Six Sigma is a process. Why would you go to the end of your process? Would you build a house and put the roof on first
Good
without the
point.
foundation and the framework? No, the house won't go up. Would you decide? I tell manufacturers, would you decide tonight you're going to bed and you dream up a new product you want to manufacture? Would you go on your shop floor and start manufacturing it tomorrow
Hmm.
without like the 4 P's in place, like your pricing, your research, your promotions, your everything? You wouldn't. Well, then why would you go to the end of your process in marketing, which is lead generation? You have a crappy website, no SEO, no keywords, you're not ranking in Google, you have no social ownership, no
Right.
brand identity, but you want to do lead generation and drive traffic to a cruddy website that has no content. So I tell people marketing is a process and it's strategic, and you won't win the game. You won't win the football game without strategy. You won't win the marketing game without strategy. So I tell people that with marketing strategy, um, it needs to be like organized, methodical, cumulative, and you kind of have to walk before you run. And a lot of times people are impatient. They want to run, especially if you're an entrepreneur or solopreneur. I need clients and I need clients now.
Yeah.
And I had that philosophy. I was like, yeah, I'm going to land 5 to 7 clients in 90 days. And I'm going to make a six-figure income. And well, I've been doing this full time since the end of May. And let me tell you, I only have three clients and I'm still making a far from six-figure income. So it takes time to build a business and
Yeah.
it takes time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I feel like every business that first year you're in the trenches, right? You're still figuring out what works well for you, figuring out your customer, solutions, all those different things. So, um,
Yeah,
definitely, yeah, go ahead.
Christopher, I love where your mind goes. That's what I love about being friends with you. When you said that first year, you're still in the trenches. That's what I tell people about their marketing.
True.
People hear me and they want like a five times return on investment their first year. I'm like, okay, just like us, we started our own business. You had to stand up a CRM. You had to get those lists. You had to start put together your business plan, your strategy,
Right.
your service offering, your content. That all takes time to stand that up and lay that foundation. In your first year, you're not going to get a huge return on investment with your marketing. You're going to start the process. And also it depends on your sales cycle. I tell people like all of us have a different sales cycle. And for like some of my manufacturers, it's a year and a half from that
Yeah.
first conversation to when they close the deal. So you want me to give you a five times return on investment in 1 year when you told me your sales cycle is a year and a half. The leads that I'm pulling in now probably aren't going to convert for a year and a half. But I did decrease the sales cycle for one of my clients. He told me it was a year and a half and he got a big sale in 3 months. So I decreased his sales cycle by quite
That's
a bit.
impressive. That's a lot better, right? Especially for cash flow and just survivability of your business, right? You're not, strapping for crash and trying to sell out your business and all those different things. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like we just talked about, where do I start? We really hit on that. It was just organic in our conversation. I tell people start with a CRM. When
Mm.
I
CRM, huh?
started doing this full time, I'll be honest with you, I lost my job. My company eliminated my department, and I had
Mm.
that decision to make. Do I go look for another W-2 and do my consulting on the side the way I have been, or do I try to ramp up and go full time with my consulting firm? The first thing I did was stood up a CRM.
Mm.
And most people don't have one. They're emailing people out of their Outlook or their
True.
Gmail. You can't do effective marketing without a CRM. You can't track ROI. You can't track buyer journey. You can't track conversion points. It gives you so much data to help you with growing your business. The other thing I tell people where to start foundationally is website.
Yeah.
I had my website built by a subcontractor I used to build my multi $50 million manufacturers' websites. If you build a website that you pay your neighbor $500 to build, or your friend's kid builds it for you, it is not going to do anything for you. All it is a
Right.
business card. It's a business card where you could send someone there to show that you're legit. It's not going to help you with organic ranking with Google. It is not going to help you in any algorithm to get traffic to your website. So it needs to be optimized front end and back end with keywords. It needs to have great content. It needs to have great user experience. It needs to be actually nowadays in a lot of places, you need to be ADA compliant. And I learned this.
Makes
I had
sense.
a client who her colors were like black and red.
Mm-hmm.
My web developer, look, we were taking her website, pulling it out of Shopify, rebuilding it in WordPress with a WooCommerce plugin. He looked at her website. He's like, "Oh my God, your brand colors aren't compliant." And she's like, "What do you mean?" He said, "The color red, someone with uh, color blindness can't see that.
Right.
To use this hex code instead." And to your naked eye, Christopher, like we looked at it and we're like, "That is the same color red. Like you cannot tell a difference." But to someone who sees like not like we see, it's a huge difference. So she could have gotten sued. You can actually have somebody, if they want to, they can go after you and sue you because your site is not ADA compliant. So,
Hmm.
they're not going to get a lot of money from us. But for a $50 million manufacturer, someone could be lawsuit happy and go after them and try to get a few million out of that.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point and something to definitely be aware of. Real
Sometimes
quick,
marketing people act as an attorney. It's like you're their legal
oh
counsel.
yeah, especially those industries that are heavily regulated. Yeah, there's no room for error in that regard. Real quick, someone just starting off, what are some good starter CRMs that you may recommend to people uh to just get something going as a foundation?
Well, there are a lot of them out there that you could get for like, 20 to 50 bucks a month. Um, I have never used them because I don't work with startups as my clients because they can't afford me. So like with my clients, I've worked with larger CRMs like HubSpots and
Yeah.
um, Acton, Exact Target, Zoho. Personally, I use a CRM that's called Connectly. It's not
Okay.
dirt cheap, but it's cheaper than like a HubSpot or Zoho. It's $147 a month, unlimited seats, unlimited licenses, unlimited contacts, no plugins, no additional fees, and it does stuff all the others can't do. And it is so user friendly.
Hmm.
I will never, I honestly don't think I'll ever recommend another CRM to my clients because out of all the ones I've used, I'm in love with this one. I love it. I've never used one
Okay.
that I love this
You
much.
you you might have a converter over here. I've been using HubSpot for quite the longest time, even in my first
HubSpot
business.
is like the free version is only free for so long. As your
Right.
scale, oh yeah, we've got to add this and you've got to pay for more contacts and you've got to add Marketing Hub and you've got to add Sales Hub and it gets really expensive.
Yeah.
So I like a solution that it's all of it up front and you don't ever have any more add-ons.
Yeah. And to that point of why CRM is so important, and then we can hop on to the next kind of section. I felt it was so important for me to have that just to manage deal flow, right? You may have all these different leads and clients coming in. It could be hard to keep track of all these opportunities that are going on, and who sent what email, did they look at this proposal or not? And so I found the quicker that you found that you had tooling for yourself as a business owner on the CRM side, you're going to save yourself so much time and effort just managing clients and really understanding your clientele too, right? Because there's so much more data CRMs can pull from who you're talking with.
I've heard from some friends of mine that use Pipedrive. They've said that that's a good low-cost CRM for
Mm,
like a solopreneur who's not making a lot of money yet that needs something. But the problem is always if you start out with a low cost or free one, and then you need more capability because those are very simplified. You can't
right.
grow with them. It's very difficult to convert over to another CRM. A lot of times it takes a lot of work to try to pull out all
Mm.
your data, all your contacts, especially the low cost ones. Like like a HubSpot, yeah, HubSpot would integrate with a Connectly and you could port everything over.
Oh,
But
that's
for the
pretty
ones
cool.
that are like 20 bucks a month, a lot of times it's a manual process and it's very difficult to get the data out of there and port it over to another solution. So that's something to ask about. Like if you go with a CRM solution, see what scale they have, like how, as your business scales and grows, how far can you go with them? And if you choose to leave and go to another CRM that has a more complex environment, how do they interface and how well are they at exporting all your data
Yeah.
for integration?
Yeah, no, that's a big one. Yeah, especially kind of with that lean method mindset of no vendor lock-in, right? You want to be able to be flexible and have control over things when you need it to. So, uh,
Yeah.
great advice. Hmm.
So I think we talked about the foundational marketing stuff, and I know you and I wanted to get to the Lean Six Sigma stuff. So what I do, Lean Six Sigma, I'm going to tell you guys what it is in a minute. But what I tell my manufacturers who are familiar with Lean Six Sigma, if their marketing's not doing what they want it to do and they're not getting the ROI, they're not getting the leads, they need to think about they use Lean Six Sigma on their shop floor. Why do they not use that methodology that transforms their operations to transform other processes in their business? And I'm going to give you an example of how I've used it to transform a process in my own home, a simple process in my own home. It's really cool. So here's what it is. I'm not going to read all this to you, but Lean Six Sigma is really two different methodologies. So Lean is a principle about waste reduction, and Six Sigma is about process improvement. You smush them together, and you've got process improvement that results in reduction of waste. And Six Sigma, by reduction of waste, the rule with Six Sigma is you're only allowed 3.4 defects per million. So
Mm,
think about it. If you manufacture teddy bears and you make a million teddy bears, 3.4 of those can have something wrong with them. An eye sewed on crooked, some stuffing sticking out, a nose that's not stitched properly.
yeah.
Less than four. And so I tell people, why do I talk about this to people who aren't in manufacturing? Like, why should they give a shoot and care? It's so successful. They've taken it out of manufacturing and they're using it in every industry. The biggest one, get this, we all touch this. Hospitals.
Oh, yeah.
Hospitals. Think about it. If you see a million patients, even 3.4 defects per million is 3.5 dead people or three
Mm,
and a half people missing a limb. Do you want that to happen to you in a hospital? No. So they have implemented Lean Six Sigma to try to eliminate waste, which is mistakes, and to improve processes. So that's a huge example how it's come out of manufacturing. It's being used in somewhere we've all unfortunately probably been in at one time or another.
yeah, that medical example is a big one, right? I don't I that just kind of hit me in the face right there, just like really just brought it down to earth.
And
Um,
in what we both do, you know, what you do, what I do we want to make mistakes? Do we want to waste time? Do we want to waste resources? No. So how do we, a lot of times people spin their wheels like, I don't know how to get better at this. I don't know how
right.
not to waste time. I don't know how to be more effective. I don't know how to be more efficient. And it's like Lean Six Sigma can help with that. And also what Lean Six Sigma does, it always focuses on the customer
Mm,
first
that's
mentality,
awesome.
and it also focuses on data. Data and analytics, you are always looking at data. So here's my example to make it real to someone in a very small scale. This is not using the data, this is not all the charts and graphs and number crunching. But if you have a pet, whatever kind of pet it is, a dog, cat, I have two kittens, and I was feeding them the way most people feed their pets. So I'm going to the floor where the bowls are, taking the bowls to the counters, going to the closet, getting my bag of pet food out, taking it to the counter, filling up my bowls, putting the bowls back down on the floor where I feed the cats, going back to the counter and taking the bag and putting it away in the cupboard. One day I said to myself, dummy, like, you don't wash those bowls that the dry food is in every single day. Why are you making all these extra steps? Why don't you either take the bowl to the closet and fill it from the bag, or take the bag to the bowl and fill it from the bag? You don't need the counter. Cut it out of the equation.
Yeah.
I did that for the last year, right? Well, Lean Six Sigma me again and gave me another punch this week. I found myself just this week. I was taking the bag of pet food, reaching into it, taking a big handful of cat food, and putting it into the bowl on the floor. And what happens? It's kitten food and it's little nuggets, and the little
Right.
nuggets fall out of my hand. So after I put it
Naturally.
in the bowl, I'm picking up the little pieces that fell out of my hand off the floor. Again, my brain said, dummy, pick up the bowl from the floor, take the bowl to the bag, scoop it into the bowl, put the bowl back down, and then you don't have to waste all this time and energy picking up all these little tiny pieces that fell on the floor.
Yeah.
That is Lean Six Sigma.
Just that one hand motion of movement save you so much time, right?
Did it. My mom watched one of these videos I did, and she called me one day and she's like, Gina, I Lean Six Sigma in my kitchen. I go, what did you do, Mom? She goes, well, I had all my pots and pans in the stove to store them. And every time I went to use the oven, I'm taking all these pots and pans out and putting them on the kitchen counter. And then I have to put them all back. And I've got this cupboard in the kitchen that I've got all these pots and pans and dishes that I only use once a year, like the lasagna pan for Christmas and
Right. Just
canned debris for
don't we
Thanksgiving,
all have that drawer somewhere?
the big spaghetti sauce pot that you make sauce twice a year in. So she said, what I did is I cleaned out that cupboard, took all those pots and pans I use once a year and put them down in the basement, took everything in my stove, put it in the cupboard, and now when I go to use my stove, it's empty. I don't have to empty it out every time. I was
Hmm.
like, I was so proud of her.
Yeah, there you go. Just simple process improvement, right? I think that's the and just that little efficiency in itself has a profound impact, especially as you scale. Because imagine if
Exactly.
you had to feed 10 of your cats, right? That'd
Or 10
be,
of your kids.
yeah. You start to get efficient.
Yeah, you can apply it anywhere. I had someone who watched my videos and she's like, I was doing laundry the wrong way. And the way I put laundry away and folded it and carried it and moved it, she's like, I created a more efficient process for doing my laundry in my house. And people have, like, my mom actually, after that, she rearranged her living room. She was like, I
Wow.
found that, I had this furniture here and this furniture there, and this wasn't efficient with this. And whenever a company came, I had to move this and kind of move this over, and everybody couldn't see the TV. So she did this living room rearrangement to make the process of entertaining like easier and better for everyone, for her customers.
Yeah.
But so then we take that, or it's like, okay, we've talked about it in manufacturing, we've talked about it with our kittens. How do we apply it to marketing? So there's this acronym in Lean Six Sigma called DMAIC, and it's the first letter of all these words in bold. DMAIC is define, measure, analyze, improve, control. And so you can apply this to any project process.
Hmm.
Find the goal. What's your current state? What's your goal end state? And then you map it. How do I get from current state to goal state? And you use data and analytics to do that. And then you improve it, and then that's part of the problem.
Mm.
Think about when you do a New Year's resolution or you
Right.
decide to lose weight and you define it. You say, I'm 200 block pounds and I want to be 100 block pounds. I'm going to analyze, I'm overeating and I need to cut out carbs and I need to this and I need to that. Then you go improve it and you say, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to go buy vegetables more. And then what happens? We fall off the wagon.
Right.
Like we don't sustain it. It happens for a while and then boom, we go into our old patterns again, our old habits. So that's where the control phase is so important. You don't need to say, made this improvement done. Now I
Right.
need to go on to the next improvement and the next process. You have to say, I have to constantly monitor this improvement and ensure that it remains optimized so that it's sustainable. And then you sustain that process.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
so
super important. And would you say it almost follows kind of that mantra of like, it takes 28 days to form a habit, right? And if you're doing something drastic in terms of change, you're gonna need to kind of be on top of it just for that first initial phase. Is that about
yeah,
right?
the things that are even more like for something like manufacturing or marketing, it's not necessarily a habit. Like, I oversimplify
Yeah.
with my weight loss example. It's not a habit, it's a process. So the problem is if you don't do it after the 28 days, you usually end up falling back into maybe a different process. Maybe you
Right.
were doing it this way, you decided to do it this way, it's working, and then all of a sudden I don't have the time, I don't have the energy, I don't have the resource.
Yeah.
I'm going to let this go and I'm going to let that go. And all of a sudden you've got a new kind of problem. So that sustainability piece is really important. And so that process improvement is the Six Sigma part. And the lean, the waste management, like how do we eliminate waste?
Mm.
That's the other portion of the methodology. So in marketing, and in manufacturing, this is four wastes in Lean Six Sigma, no matter what you do, no matter marketing, feeding cats, dogs, manufacturing, hospitals. There are four kinds of waste: time, rework, resources, and defects. So think about it when you do your job every day. Have you found things that take longer than they should and a process that isn't very efficient? Have you had to do things multiple times? Um, it happened to me yesterday. I was building a landing page and somehow my CRM didn't save all the changes I made. And
Mm.
after I got done and I was so tired, it was late in the day. I was like, I thought I was done. And oh my God, half of it is missing. All that hard work I did.
Oh
So
no.
I reached out to my CRM guy and I said, what the happened? And he said, I've seen this happen once or twice before if someone has multiple um, instances of the CRM open. He said, so either close one of them or each
Hmm.
section you do, save after each section. He's
Interesting.
like, don't wait for the end of the page to save. So that's how I avoided rework in that situation. I put in a new process for how I build landing pages in my CRM so that that doesn't happen to me again.
Yeah.
Um, we waste resources that could be money, budget, and then we make mistakes. So, when we make errors, that defect causes rework. That rework causes waste of resources. Then that rework causes waste of time. So all of these wastes are connected. And so these are some of the ways that I eliminate waste in marketing. And it really helps me be more efficient. That goes back to the beginning of our conversation about how I got the name of my company. My client called me a barracuda. He's like, you go at it, you get it done, you're so efficient. I had a boss who said to me, if you want something done yesterday, ask Gina.
Yeah.
Another boss said, if you want something done, well, he said Gina's middle name is Gina Get Shit Done Tabasso. And another manager of mine, he wanted me to do a project. And I said to him, what's the deadline? When do you need this by?
Right.
If it was anybody but you, I would tell them I need it this Friday because I know they'd be late and they'd push the deadline and make excuses and I might have it next week. He said, honestly, Gina, I don't need it for 3 weeks, but I know you'll have it to me by tomorrow.
Yeah. Right.
It's just my personality. I'm very type A and very structured and organized. But these people who aren't, like my friends who've come to me, like, I want to be like you. I'm not that way. I procrastinate and I struggle and I'm disorganized and
Right.
you know, I said, use a methodology like this. This is something that can help you. It's a tool. You don't have to be born with that ability.
Yeah. No, those are wonderful insights.
Thanks. So the end result of all of this, I say, what's the point? What's the point of doing this Lean Six Sigmaing your marketing? It's so that you can have sustainable growth and sustainable success. You're making data-driven decisions, you're constantly improving, you're collaborative, you're communicating, and you're always focusing on your customer. And that's what Lean Six Sigma does. These four principles are the complete kind of mission and goal of Lean Six Sigma is to make sure you're always doing these four things. And if you are, you will succeed. So that's really the whole presentation I had for you today. And then I was going to open it up to questions if anybody had any, but it's just the two of us today. So maybe when we share this online, if people have questions, they're welcome to get a hold of me and I'm happy to, answer anything that pops up for folks.
Yeah. Yeah, we had some folks in here, but yeah, it looks like they dropped off.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell the folks just for the recording, what's the best way to get in touch with Barracuda? Or you
Yeah.
personally?
Yeah, I didn't include my closing end slide. I popped stuff in the chat for the webinar. So I am on LinkedIn. You could look under Gina Tabasso. There's only one of me. And I also I have a website which you can see. My company name is barracuda b2b.com. So just drop off the word marketing. So you see my logo and it's Barracuda, the letter B, the number two, the letter B.com. And then my email is that same URL, Gina, Gina, at barracudab2b.com. So you can reach me on LinkedIn, email, or through my website.
Awesome and simple, exactly straight to the point. So we love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing these wonderful insights. It was such a pleasure having you on today for today's episode. Totally looking forward to more talks in the future. And thanks, folks, and have a great rest of your evening.
I appreciate it. Thanks for